Meeting Doctor here. I know a lot of times I try not to talk about current events because I want these videos to be fresh, to be um, useful and interesting anytime, right? Despite my aging. And the interesting thing is today I'm going to break that rule because today Marvel released Spider-Man Brand New Day, their trailer for that. And if you recall, without too many spoilers here, people have forgotten who Spider-Man was, right? Important people that were important in his life, people that were not important in his life, but people have forgotten who he was, right? That is Peter Parker. Spoiler alert, sorry. And they've forgotten that, right? People that he cared about. And it got me thinking, you know, obviously, or I wouldn't be talking about it. But as the meeting doctor, thinking about when times when I have gone to a meeting, or even just in a networking situation where we have a moment where people have forgotten who we are, right? People that you know well, people maybe you've had several interactions with, who don't know who you are, right? Has that happened to you? Is in a meeting, has that happened to you where someone who should know who you are doesn't know who you are, and suddenly you have to somehow um, not embarrass them, or do you? So, what we know from meeting science is that um, people are forgetful. In fact, this is not meeting science, this is psychological science. People are forgetful. In fact, uh, the evidence is pretty clear that if you sit in a lecture, for instance, in 3 days, you'll remember about 30% of what was said in the lecture. You'll lose 70% of it, right? So you think about, the people you interact with, that sort of thing. It's real easy to forget what happens in a meeting, or forget a person, right? Entirely, even though you may have interacted with them several times. I'm guilty of that. And it can be embarrassing when you don't remember who they are, when you should remember who they are. So I've been on that end of it, but I've also been on the end where someone should remember who I am and they don't. And what I typically do is I avoid the embarrassment. I avoid embarrassing them because all the science would suggest that embarrassment doesn't really do good things for us overall. And so what I tend to do is I tend to interact, not exactly like we're people that should, are brand new, but I may introduce myself again. I might say, "Hey, I'm Joe. It's good to see you again." I might even say, "See you again," right? Because again, the key here is not to embarrass them, but also not to overly acknowledge that they don't remember you, right? Give them the chance by dropping in a few cues that have the chance of registering in their brain and helping them recall. Because most of the time, it's not a conscious choice to forget. It's more of uh, a lack of cues in the environment to remember. And so, just seeing your face, they'll recognize the face. In many cases, we recognize faces. Humans do a great job of recognizing faces. Putting names with faces and context with faces and so forth like that is harder. But if you give them enough cues, then it helps. And by doing that, you'll have a more positive interaction with them, and this will create more positive interactions with others just generally by just being a little more forgiving of the forgetful nature of human beings. So, anyway, I'm curious to see how Spider-Man deals with this. I'm sure they'll sensationalize it. It'll be wonderful, and it'll be a wonderful popcorn movie. I'm looking forward to it. But in a meeting, let's not pop popcorn. Let's just be gracious and kind and have a better experience for everyone. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.